Hello friends, I am Pearl Coupe and I'm an attorney and I'm here to discuss with you a very recent case. It's a CCMA case. It's the case of Gold Rush. The company's name is Gold Rush and the applicant's name was Teresa Mulderay. An extremely important case, and I want to just give you some things to think about and really reflect on. But this matter was heard on the 10th of January in this year. In this case, the applicant represented herself, and Gold Rush was represented by an HR manager by the name of Mdluli. And in this case, the applicant was hoping to be reinstated. She had been dismissed for refusing to vaccinate or to take the COVID-19 vaccination. Ultimately, an award was given against her, and the applicant had actually been dismissed for incapacity based on refusal to vaccinate. So we want to talk about some of the issues there. But the first thing I do want to say out to you there, as the public, first of all, is to say, do not fear, do not panic. Many of you out there are worried about the implications of this case. And to those who do not want to vaccinate, I do want to say this. Don't go out there and rush to vaccinate. This matter is being taken up on review. It is being taken up on review. Teresa Mulderay has already contacted, I believe, an attorney. People will be representing her legally. In the first instance, she was not legally represented, but now she will be legally represented. And the matter will be taken up on review. What does review mean? Review essentially means that you can bring a case back to be reviewed on legal issues. And it's important that we understand that there will be legal issues that will be interrogated. One of the legal issues that really needs to be interrogated, and of course I'm speaking as an attorney myself, is the issue of incapacity. Now, Teresa was found to have permanent incapacity, and that is problematic. On review, that issue really needs to be inspected quite seriously. When you look at the Code of Good Practice, especially Schedule 8, this is that document that now sets out what incapacity is. It talks about incapacity for poor work performance. So you can be found to have incapacity because your work performance is poor. It talks also about incapacity as a result of sickness. Now, Teresa, none of those cases applied to her. No evidence was led to the fact that she had ever been charged for poor work performance. She was not sick. Only thing was that she did not want to vaccinate. And she put forward very cogent, justifiable reasons for not wanting to vaccinate. And so this incapacity really needs to be interrogated, because when somebody is found to be permanently incapacitated for refusal to vaccinate, that means there are huge implications for many of us. Many of us now can be called permanently incapacitated just because we refuse to vaccinate. But the issue is, are you incapacitated just because you've not taken the vaccination? That needs to be looked at. It has huge implications not only for this nation, but beyond. And so that is one of the issues that has to be taken up for review. Not being vaccinated does not make you incapable. You can still do the work. Incapacity implies that you are not able to do the work. Teresa was very able. She was qualified to do the work. The other issue that needs to be looked at very carefully is the issue of limitations clause, Section 36. We have said over and over again that the Constitution protects your right, and we continue to say that. The Constitution, through Section 12, protects your right to bodily and psychological integrity. And the Constitution also protects, in Section 10, your right to dignity. And right to dignity, the court cases have said, includes freedom of choice. So through Section 10 and through Section 12, your right to bodily integrity, psychological integrity, and also your freedom of choice are protected. That freedom cannot just be taken away like that. We would like to say that Section 36, which is the limitations clause, was improperly applied. It was improperly applied in this instance. So that needs to be looked at as well. Section 36 can only limit the fundamental rights of an individual in certain instances. For instance, if it is a law of general application, then it can limit that. This was not shown to be the case in this case. So there are a number of things that one needs to look at. And in particular, the issue of discrimination must be raised. It is a critical pillar and a critical point because, as we've said time and time again, the unvaccinated can contract COVID and can transmit it. So can the vaccinated. They can contract COVID and they can also transmit it. So if you are going to dismiss an employee on the basis of contracting and transmitting COVID, then you need to dismiss the vaccinated employees as well, because scientifically and medically, they can also contract it and transmit it. If you don't dismiss them, then that essentially means it's unfair discrimination. And the Employment Equity Act prohibits unfair discrimination, as does the Constitution. Any of you out there who are facing dismissal on that basis, I want to encourage you to take your case before the South African Human Rights Council. They are mandated to take up discrimination cases. And so take your case, lodge a case of discrimination, because if they are just dismissing unvaccinated employees for contracting and transmitting the potential to contract and transmit COVID, then they must do the same with vaccinated employees because they equally are able to contract it and also to transmit it. Lastly, I would want to say that we also need to look at the aspect of decisions around the world. Let's look at decisions around the world. South Africa, we are not living in an island. And there have been two very famous and fabulous cases that we need to look at and draw legal principles from. The recent U.S. Supreme Court decision that found that you cannot dismiss an employee for refusing to take vaccination. The Senate backed this decision. When President Biden tried to enforce mandatory vaccination, the highest court in the United States said, no, it's not possible. It is to do so is to encroach on the rights and lives and safety of employees. And Senate backed the U.S. Supreme Court, as did the Canadian Superior Court. They also said to dismiss an employee for refusing to take the mandatory vaccination is constructive dismissal, which means it gives the implications for that is that as an employee, you can sue for wrongful dismissal. Constructive dismissal is wrongful dismissal. So we want to say to you, South Africans, Simunye, we are one. Stand firm. Stand united. Refuse to back down. Don't rush out and get the jab because you're fearing for your job. Stand firm. This case is being taken up for review. Let's wait for the final matter on this instance. It must go on review. It can even be taken up to the labor court. Let us hear the final call. But don't panic. Don't fear. Don't be anxious. Don't be stressed. And just hang tight, remain prayerful, remain and stand in faith. We believe that God is on our side and that this matter will be addressed properly, judiciously, and with the equity that it deserves. You have a right to bodily integrity. You have a right of freedom of choice. You have a right to not be discriminated against. And we believe that the judicial system is going to support all those rights. Genako. It's time. Stand firm.